Hey there, Spec owners. We're going to be covering the Clutch Masters hydraulic throwout bearing install. I'm going to show you what comes in the kit. I have a mock-up bell housing here. I'll show you how it goes in, and yeah, kind of how to set it up, at least on the internals. And then once it's there, you'll go ahead and bleed it. We won't go all the way into bleeding, just because bleeding is pretty straightforward, but I'll show you how it goes in your transmission and how it's going to operate. So, what comes in your kit, obviously, is the hydraulic throwout bearing. There's different faces for the different styles of clutch. This is for a regular standard single disc. If it's the FX100 to the FX500. And then we also have another version available that has the face for the twin disc. So, a 7 1/4 twin disc, which I run on my personal car. So, now, what we'll do is we'll go ahead. I like to still lube this up, whatever grease you prefer. I just used brake grease because it's going to see the same dust as brakes basically with the clutch, and it's going to protect it and keep all these components just insulated, and it should help it slide on just a little bit easier. Then, I guess I'll back up just a little bit. Before you get to this point, you'll want to remove your old pivot fork, the spring, the stock throwout bearing, and the pivot ball stud that's right here. You want to remove all those. I believe the stud is either a 17 or a 19 millimeter. And once you get that out of the way, your transmission will be nice and open. You'll slide it in just like so. Then you'll come to your things here. You'll have your clutch lines. And so on this is the top of your transmission. So the letters should be facing up, and that will point towards the top. So if you read English, you look at that, this will be the top. And that's important because you want your feed coming in from your clutch, from your master. You want it to come into the... So I messed up. In this section, I refer to putting the bleeder in the bottom port and the regular line in the top port. You actually want to do that opposite. So the main line will be the bottom port on the bearing, and the top port will be your bleeder. So that way the fluid, essentially if you think of it, you want to fill it up from the bottom up so the air can escape easiest. So yeah, back to what I already filmed, but that was my mess up, and this is how you really want to do it. So, and then you'll connect that 3AN line onto that upper connection right there. You can have these pre-installed off of the car if you know what it is, because then you can still, even with them installed, you can go ahead, slide them through your hole in the bell housing and get this installed with no problems. And then you'll have your second line, which will have your bleeder right here, and then the 3AN on this side, and that's going to go to your lower connection down here. And with those, you get them nice and tight. And then finally in your kit, you'll get your bolt. That looks like it's an 8 millimeter Allen. So you'll align this. Tighten, you'll torque that down. You may want to put some red Loctite on that, just so that way it does not come loose, because if that comes loose, this assembly could come loose, and you don't want that. So that's very critical to torque and to, yeah, I would just use probably, I don't know, I don't think I have a torque spec for it, but I would definitely torque that. I would use the same torque spec as you use for the pivot ball, for the OEM. So if you go through the FSM, I would use the same torque spec on this, plus a little red Loctite, just to make sure you're good. Then the other part of your kit, I don't think it's out here. I'll grab it real quick. The other part that's included in the kit is this TPU cover that allows your lines to go through, and I like to have it so that the holes are further away from the clutch, so it holds it back like that. But you can install it this way and it shouldn't rub on your clutch. You should still have enough space. But just kind of take the split, work it around your clutch lines like so, and then that just kind of presses into place like so. And that's just going to hold your clutch lines in place. And now you're good to reinstall your transmission. You don't even have to put this cover on yet till after the transmission's installed. And then you hook up your brake, or you hook up your clutch lines, bleed it. I just gravity bled mine at first, because you can just let this open and then just start filling the top and open up the system and let it bleed, and then do that, give it a couple of pumps, and then after that you want to go into your car and get a bolt, and you may need to remove your clutch pedal in order to install it, or if you're good underneath the dash, you can probably install the bolt in, and that's just going to be a stopper for this, so that way you want to limit it to only so much motion, and you can watch that motion through this window once you get it installed. So, but that is the Clutchmaster's hydraulic throwout bearing, or concentric slave cylinder, however you like to call it. And yeah, that's what's included. So now we're in the car. We're going to show you what the clutch pedal looks like, or what my clutch pedal looks like on the bottom to help limit. And then I'll throw in some footage of looking in through the transmission and seeing the motion of the hydraulic throwout bearing. So you get to see kind of what you want. You don't want it to hyperextend. That's what the point of the stopper on your clutch pedal is just to limit that travel. When you do limit the travel, your clutch sensor, you may need to tighten further in so that way your pedal contacts it. Mine is in a pretty good spot to where I get both of them, and I don't have any interference with that. So now we'll get underneath the dash here and see what that looks like. You can see I just have a bolt with a nut on the backside, and it's tightening, and that is about 1/4 inch off of that plate, which acts as my stopper, which is perfectly enough for limiting the travel. If you want, or something slightly tweaked, and you want to dial it in and you want it to stop even further up, you can basically just put washers underneath the head of the bolt right there, that bolt, and the washers will shim it outwards, effectively limiting the travel of your clutch pedal. And then you'll want to move the sensor out with it just to make sure it all works together. And here we're out in the engine bay. You can see I've got my connectors here, and I've got my bleeder down here. I've got my block off in. It's right there. And yeah, that works good. This is just the quick release. That's an option there. And this side, I don't have an OEM line on mine. I just have a 3N line that I got on Amazon to a Wheelwood master cylinder. So I don't have the same termination as most people would. But yeah, if you have to, I had to use this Wheelwood as an adapter to get these two lines to connect together, because they're both 3AN. You may need to get an adapter to adapt the 3AN to whatever the OEM side is. And yeah, that completes the install for the Clutchmaster's hydraulic slave cylinder.